Alright. Mana punya presentation? Okay. So this is the poster. Alright, I use that as my first slide. Okay, so okay. So what we're going to have today, alright, I'm going to make it very informal. Yeah, so we're going to look at the overview of income tax filing first. Alright, then only we go into a real case study where we have an illustration. Alright, I go through what you need to have, for example, and how to submit your income tax, right? And of course, for those who have submitted, right, you can also revise, right? Revise your submission. So we are going to look into that. It's just a small topic, but because there's a request for this as well, yeah. So these are only the 3 things that we are going to look into today, right? Hopefully, at the we be able to finish that within 1.5 hours, hopefully, inshallah. Yeah. All right. Shall we start now? All right. So in talking about income tax, yeah, so we are going to focus only individuals taxpayers. Yeah, we are not talking about company, we are not talking about other organization, for example, but we're talking about ourselves as an individual who have to submit your tax filing. Yeah, so who has to submit? All right, only if you have income which is taxable. Right? What are the income? Number 1 is that if you have any business income, right? So when talking about this business income, we only refer to an individual who has any business income under the platform of a sole proprietorship. All right, for example, you have an enterprise. So when it's an enterprise, it's a sole proprietor, so the income from the business will be assessed on the individual, yeah, not on that enterprise itself. So that fall under individual. But if you have a business income that you set up a company, so that does not fall into this category. So if you have a company, Senjaya Berhad, right, then the business income will be taxed on the company. Yeah. Similarly, if you have a partnership, right, so in this case, we're talking about the normal partnership, not limited liability partnership. Yeah, it's just a normal partnership where you partner with the other friends, all right, where you have a business income, then the income from the partnership will also be assessed on the individual. Okay. But today, all right, for an individual, for this session, we are not going to cover if you have income from your business, right? Because the deadline for individual business income, the deadline for submission is 30th of June, not 30th of April. So if you like to know more about your business income, right, as an enterprise, how to do your tax form, maybe we can have another session on that, yeah? But today I'm going to concentrate on employment income, all right? Employment income, it could be whether you're self-employed tak lah, yeah? It's an income that you form in the form of salary, all right? And maybe you also have income from your dividend, yeah? So now we have many people actually invest in stocks, so you receive dividend income. So in that case, that dividend is taxable income. But because now we are under single tier system, all right, your whatever dividend income that you receive, all right, is no longer brought to tax. Yeah, so it's exempted, all right, means that it's already taxed at the company level. So upon receiving your dividend income, you don't have to bring that dividend income into your tax computation. All right. Similarly, if you have a lot of money, you put that money into a fixed deposit, into any savings, into any Malaysian institution banking. All right. Then the interest income that you receive is taxable, but there's an exemption for an individual resident. So whatever interest from any Malaysian financial institution, most of them, if not all, is exempted. Yeah. I don't want to talk about discounts and premiums, but again on rental. Yeah. So many of us, not many, some of us may have your extra property, right? Then you have property rented out. So when you have your property rented out, you actually receive rental income. And that rental income is subject to tax, all right? But many of us just keep that income silent, right? So maybe it's about time for us to actually recognize the income you receive from your rental to be taxed accordingly. All right. And royalty, for example, many of us are academicians. All right. You do actually have a royalty income when you publish your books. All right. Whenever you make translation or many, all right, royalty, there are a long list of the definition under royalty income. But the royalty income is also taxable. But again, there are some exemptions. Yeah, exemption means that, for example, the amount that you receive, you may get exemption of 20,000 or even is as fully exempted, right? But when talking about exemptions and exceptions to the law, right, this requires further discussion. Yeah, but you know that, okay, royalty income is a taxable income, but there are exemptions, there are exceptions to the law. Yeah, pension, generally, if you have pension, it is received from the government, which is in Malaysia. Those who receive pensions are mostly from the government, so that pension is actually exempted. It's taxable, but it's exempted, right? And then annuity, for example, if you receive some amount of annuity, normally, all right, for example, we receive annuity, for example, yeah, a husband pass away and then leave behind some wealth, and then from that wealth they create a trust, and then you pay annuity from the trust to the wife or to the children. So that kind of annuity payment received is taxable income, right? But again, this is another level, but we are going to again concentrate on employment income, all right, in this session. All right, so what are your responsibility as a taxpayer? All right, so of course, I hope that most of you, all right, are registered. All right, you're already registered as a taxpayer with the Inland Revenue Board. All right, you may not register yourself because in Malaysia, all right, it's a responsibility of the employer to inform the Inland Revenue Board. All right, Lembaga Hasil Dalam Negeri or LHDN, I call it RRB, right, to on the employment of any new employees. All right. So upon informing the RRB, then an income tax file will be opened for that employee. All right. So normally we don't actually normally open up ourselves. Yeah. So normally employer will have to inform, and then that will be the file will be registered. Okay. So talking about compliance, bila cakap pasal taxpayer tax ni memang isunya is compliance lah. Yeah, so you comply maknanya first is you must be registered, and then you have to submit your tax returns. Tax returns ni is the term lah, maknanya form yang kita submit to RP tu kita panggil tax return. Yeah, so when you have to submit your tax return, dia ada deadline dia. Yeah, submit whether you want to submit manually or you want to submit through eFILING, right? So now with the self-assessment system, things are, most of it is online. So you can actually submit online lah, kita panggil eFILING, right? But there are minority, right? Even I met a few of my tax experts, right? Not expert, I would say my colleagues lah, yeah. They do actually don't submit eFILING, right? They don't trust. They say that, oh, I don't want lah, my information about my salary, my income, everything is on the database. So I will do manual filing, right? So there is also an option for manual filing, right? But most of it, the government will always encourage for you to do e-filing. All right. One of the incentive given is that if you submit your e-filing, all right, if you have a tax refund position, then the refund normally will be credited to your accounts within 2 weeks. Yeah, at least normally lah. All right. So 2 weeks to. So far memang I dapat refund within 2 weeks lah. Yeah. Okay. In terms of compliance also, alright, when you submit your income tax return, you must disclose all your taxable income. Yeah. So that's why tadi kita dah tahu income mana yang taxable. So you should know how much to be disclosed, and you can also make claims. Alright. You want to claim deductions against your income. So now you have your income, you have your expenses. Then you match together, so income minus your expenses, which is deductible, yeah. Bukan semua expense is deductible. So you must know what are the expenses that are deductible. Then you come to your chargeable income, right? So once you have all these things, then later you see that whether you have any tax liability that you have to pay, or you have a tax refund. Alright, kalau you ada tax liability to pay, then you have to pay, alright, to settle the assessed tax by the due dates. So when is the due date? Alright, kalau you ada employment income only, then you have to submit by 30th of April. Yeah, so income ni, in tax ni dia macam ni, income for the year 2020, you submit in the following year. Of course, like income from 1st January to 31st of December 2020, alright, you only know total income that you receive after the 31st of December, right? So normally the employer will issue what we call EA form, yeah? EA form issued that will tell you your income, and then using that information, then you prepare your tax submission, all right? But with the e-filing, all right, for those who have used e-filing, then you should be aware that normally this is unofficial, yeah? It's not in the Income Tax Act, right? Unofficially, I don't know whether it's unofficially because it's not written in the law, right? But the practice of the Inland Revenue Board that they have extended, all right, the period of submission to 15th of May, all right, 15th of May to be the last date for your e-filing submission, all right? So when I say that by 30th of April or by 15th of May, maknanya can you submit earlier? Yes, please submit earlier. Don't submit on 30th of April. Don't submit on 15th of May. Because bila you submit on that date, then mulalah jam. Yeah, everybody wants to submit on that date. Mulalah terhang nak RP server, nak working, nak apalah kan. So, tapi kita rakyat Malaysia, kita suka buat on that day, yeah. So, kena tukar sikit culture kat situ. Right. But when talking about those individual with business income, right? Business income, then you submit by 30th of June. Right, so if you have your business income, then you boleh relax dulu. Because why business income ni normally there are a lot more, right? The tax computation is more detailed, a lot more expenses that you have to go through. So that's why the punya extension is longer. Okay, what is self-assessment system? Have you heard of this self-assessment system? Agak-agaknya apa self-assess ni? Anyone? Right? So the name says self-assessment. It means that as a taxpayer, you have to assess your tax liability yourself. Yeah. So maknanya you kena tahulah in order for you to compute tax liability, what is your income, what is your expenses, and how compute your tax liability. So the knowledge, right, is on the taxpayer. Responsibility is on the taxpayer. Yeah. It's no longer on us. It's no longer on the Inland Revenue Board. Yeah. So what happened at the self-assessment system is that, all right, normally RB, we are talking about income in 2020. All right. So RB will issue the tax returns. All right. Normally, all right, in 1st of February. Right. This year, I think 1st of March. Baru dia open the system, all right, for submission. So either you want to do it manually or you do an e-filing. So you assess the income tax return form first, right? Then, all right, once you have your e-filing, for example, then you fill up all the information, all right, well, your income and your expenses, how much is your relief that you want to claim, and then, all right, if you do e-filing, then the amount of tax liability will be computed automatically, yeah, on you. But in this session, I would like you to understand later that how actually to compute your tax liability. Because it's your responsibility. Alright, the knowledge is on you. You are the one. You tak boleh nak kata, oh, I tak tahulah. Oh, ignorance lah. Oh, tak boleh. You cannot say that. I nak cakap, I tak tahu nak compute macam tu. No. Alright, self-assessment system ni for individuals from 2004. So dah 16, 17 years dah. Alright, the system is already there. So by now, you should be able to do the tax com. Alright, hopefully lah. Kalau not by now, alright, at the end of the session, you should be able to compute your tax liability. Alright, so once you have put all the information, then you can submit lah tax return to RB. Right? So under self-assessment system, bila you submit, alright, e-filing tu memang clear lah. Alright, you submit, click submit je, you terus submit. So bila you submit tu, you don't have to provide any supporting documents. Alright? What do you mean by supporting documents? Katalah you ada expenses ke, you ada income EA form ke, alright, all those claims yang you nak buat. So these documents you must keep, right? Keep in a good filing system. Alright, so what I have, for example, previously I have my box file just for income tax purpose. Alright, so your box file tu you boleh buat separate by year assessment. Alright, year assessment for example lah. Sekarang ni 2020, okay, you kena simpan 7 years ya, 7 years. So katalah year, all the document for 2020 ni you kena simpan sampai 2027. Alright, simpan satu, you can have it on a hard copy. So whenever you have, you just keep right in the file. Or now because of the computer system, alright, all this, you can actually scan the document and keep as a soft copy lah. Alright, so dalam folder you pun you kena ada income tax tahun 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017. So you have to keep all these documents for 7 years. Kenapa 7 years? The law says so. Right? Kenapa 7 years? Because Income Tax Act kata kena simpan 7 years. Katalah you kata, oh terbakar lah apa. Oh tak ada. You kena penalize. Right? The responsibility to keep documents is on the taxpayer. If you don't keep your records, you can be penalized. Right? So my suggestion bila you cakap pasal record keeping ni, alright, so later we go through all these expenses, alright, whatever income which is taxable, whatever expenses that you can claim. So once you know these, right, then you should be able to do recording. So what I do normally, alright, kadang-kadang kita tak adalah every time nak masuk dalam file, right? But you must have for example, an A4 paper. For example, if you want to keep ni A4 paper, maknanya anything that you incur, for example you buy books, right, whether for your children or for yourself, because you tahu later, okay, books, any books that you buy you can claim tax, right? So any receipts related to the books, alright, you terus masukkan dalam folder. Alright, you have one folder, just masukkan pasal tax. So whenever you go shopping, alright, then you say, beli laptop for example, then you know, okay, this thing must be kept for income tax purpose, alright? So what I do now is that ada handphone, just scan macam tu je lah. Alright, pakai cam scanner and then terus masuk dalam cloud. Alright, cakap pasal filing pula, ada pula nak simpan dalam hard drive ke, cloud ke, of course now we go for cloud lah. Ya, so komputer rosak ke, whatever happen lah to your computer, at least you always have that in the cloud. Ya, okay. So that supporting document kena simpan for how many years? 7 years. Next is that, okay, once you submit your return form, alright, you cakap self-assess kan? You letaklah how much is your income, alright, sama ada you nak income tu under declare ke, over declare income ke, over claim expenses ke, alright, whatever you submitted in your tax returns will be accepted as a what we call prima facie. So alright, whatever RB kata okay, terima je. Alright, you tipu ke, betul ke, they just take it as it is. So whatever tax liability that has computed upon submission, so that is your final tax. Alright, so that is your final tax. So if you have any tax liability, then you have to pay. Alright, based on the tax return submitted. Tapi kata ada tax refund, then you akan dapatlah pada RB within 2 weeks. Okay. So far so good?
Yes.
Yes, thanks.
Kalau laju sangat, you stop me ya. I ni memang cakap laju.
Thank you.
Okay. So far tak ada nak tanya ya. Right. Next is that, alright, assessment. Ada soalan?
There's a question in the chat box.
In the chat box.
School books as well? Is it also claimable?
Books, yes.
School books.
Yes, of course. All kinds of books. Islamic books, school books, right? Anak-anak sekolah private lagi banyak kena beli textbook, everything. Simpan semua. Later kita pergi dekat situ. Okay? Alright. Anything else? I punya textbook kat mana? Oh, kat sini pun. Sorry lah, ada orang nak admit, tak tahulah bila dia minta tu kan. View all, admit all. Ya Allah, ramai menunggu. 10:23, okay lah. Alright, so where's the chat? Where's the chat box? Hold on ya. Oh, sorry lah Adila, I baru tengok. Okay, okay, insyaAllah recording. Okay, tak ada soalan kan? School books, yes, school books, yeah. All everything is allowed. Okay. So if you see that ada orang nak join, alright, because I'll be looking at my presentation, so I won't realize those yang nak join. Please let me know, yeah. Thank you. Okay, so next.
Tanya.
Yeah. Yes.
Will you have a specific sharing after this regarding the rental of property? Whether the installment is allowed or the expenses that we deduct for that we spend for the rental.
Please you tanya ni, I cakap terus lah ya.
Okay.
Alright, so katalah you ada rental property. Alright, assuming that you have only one rental property, so you akan ambil gross rental tolak expenses. But expenses ni ada two types of expenses, what we call revenue expenditure dengan capital expenditure. Revenue expenditure ni termasuklah you punya maintenance lah, alright, you kena bayar tu bayar ni, quick rent ke, alright. So all this revenue expenditure is deductible. Capital expenditure, no, you cannot deduct. For example, katalah you beli rumah rented property, ada you letak aircon lah, you buat cabinet, kitchen cabinet ke. So all these are capital expenditure. Capital expenditure is not deductible. Yeah. So that is apa so?
Bank installment definitely not allowable lah.
No. Bank installment is not your expenses.
Okay.
Right? Okay. No.
Alright.
But the interest on loan is
Interest on loan? Yes.
interest on loan.
We have Dr. Salwa here and Dr. Fatimah mana will help me. Fatimah is here to help me with the question and answer if I can't answer. Okay. Alright. Okay. Tadi katalah you ada satu property ya. But if you have 3 property, ya, ada 3 property. So what you do is that rental income ni akan assess as one source. So what happen is that kalau you ada 3 property, you totalkan 3 gross income from the 3 properties jadi satu, and all expenses from all the properties you jadikan dia satu. Right? So you tak adalah buat satu rumah, revenue minus expenses dapat income. Alright? You tak buat macam tu. You akan buat total income from all the properties minus total expenses. In this case again, total allowable expenses from all properties. Then you akan dapat satu amount. So that is the amount that you bring to tax. Is that clear, Suaniza?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, alright. Any more question? Yeah. Okay, let's go back to our slide. Alright. So talking about assessment kat sini, kita ada 2 types of assessment. Kita panggil separate assessment and joint assessment. Yeah. So bila you buat submission tu, alright, you kena pilih. You nak buat tax submission, you nak buat apa nama dia? You nak buat separate assessment ke you nak buat joint assessment? Right, you have to choose that. So when should you do your separate assessment? Katalah you memang single, right? Then you buat separate assessment lah. Because mana separate assessment ni maknanya you submit one written form on your name. Alright? Katalah in my case, alright, I'm married but we choose to go for separate assessment. So husband akan ada satu submission of tax written form, wife will have another written form. So it can separate assessment. So income of husband will be separately assessed from the wife. But kalau the other one, we call it as a joint assessment. So maknanya husband and wife ni kita akan joinkan lah dia punya income. Alright. So join dia punya income and expenses, relief semua tu kita as under satu nama je lah. Whether join tu under husband name, maknanya kalau husband name maknanya tax return tu under husband name masuk nama wife. Or the other way round, her wife punya nama masuk husband income. Yeah. So it's either one, alright. So bila you nak buat joint assessment ni, generally, right, kita akan buat joint, you should go for joint assessment bila your spouse, right, ada talking about husband or wife, yeah, spouse has minimal or no income. Yeah, because why? Later you see that kalau you buat joint assessment ni, you akan ada additional relief, kita panggil house or husband relief, right? But katalah husband and wife ada income dua-dua which is quite stable, then you should go for separate assessment. Right? So let me give you an example. Katalah masa kita buat PhD dulu, right? For example, during my time 4 tahun tu memang I buat joint assessment, right? So dia macam ni, dia tak katalah okay tahun ni you buat separate, tahun depan mesti buat separate. No. Alright, you tengok tahun ni I nak buat separate, tahun depan I nak buat joint, ikut suka I lah. Alright, whichever that give you the highest tax refund or the one that give you the lowest tax liability as husband and wife. Right, kita nak tengok totality, kita nak husband and wife kan, satu rumah nak duduk, kita nak dapat, nak refund tu nak maximum refund. Alright, kalau tax liability tu nak minimum tax liability. Yeah. So during my masa I buat PhD tu memang submit under my name sebab I yang ada income. Yeah, my husband tak ada income masa tu. Of course lah dia ada income kerja cleaner dekat overseas kan, tapi kerja overseas tak masuk income dekat Malaysia. Alright, your overseas income is not taxable in Malaysia. So in that case, alright, husband zero income, so I buat lah joint under wife name. Yeah, so I dapat additional relief of 4,000 lah at that time. Okay, so any one of you dah pernah buat joint assessment or all this while buat separate assessment? Alright, so remember that kalau you buat separate, it doesn't mean that kena buat separate throughout. No, you can separate this year, next year nak buat joint, nak buat balik separate ikut suka hati. Right, but you yang decide which one you want to go to, and of course the advice is to go for the most beneficial lah, alright, to us. Alright, clear about separate and joint assessment?
Sorry to
Yes.
ask about that. I am getting my form for tax from the kulliyah, from UIA.
Yes.
My wife is not working.
Mm-hmm.
So I also go for joint.
Yeah, you should go for joint assessment. So you have your income and then wife is zero income.
Yes.
Okay, and then later when you have a relief, you have additional relief, what we call a wife relief.
Additional. Okay,
Yes.
good.
Kak Wan,
Yes.
what about the option that mention self whose spouse has no income / no source of income / has tax exempt income?
That one joint tu.
But there's also an option join in the name of husband, join in the name of wife.
Yeah, so that's why bila you this is later we go into this very detail, but because question dah datang, so I tunjuk kat sini ya, you punya type of assessment kat sini ni, this is the first page of your eFILING ya. Page this, alright. So dia ada type of assessment kat sini sebab dia tak klik kat sini, so tak nampak lah apa option yang ada. Alright, so in this case self tu maknanya self assessment lah, you nak pilih self on your name lah. Lepas tu option kat bawah tu dia akan ada joint assessment under husband name or joint assessment under wife name, isn't it? Alright, so this is where you have to choose whether you want to have assessment under in the case of Dr. Mossad just now. Alright, so you should go for assessment under husband's name lah. Alright, Dr. Mossad?
Thank you very much. What about the books? Where to put it? At which part of the tax?
Sorry?
section? Books.
Okay, never mind. I go into that later.
Okay.
Alright? Any more question on separate and joint assessment? Again, you only go for joint assessment if the spouse has no income or minimal income. Otherwise, always go for separate assessment. Alright? Okay. Alright, next is we go into documents. Alright, so when you want to submit your return, yes?
Sorry. Okay, do you have like a rule of thumb or some ideas the minimal income tu, or maybe in total where we can opt for join tu?
Okay, nanti I tunjuk kat you.
Okay.
Alright? The illustration, because benda ni memang case to case basis lah. Sebab katalah macam yalah minimal tu pun very subjective lah kan.
Exactly.
But generally dia kata if your katalah monthly income if 2,000, katalah 2,000 below per month. Right? The article kata if your monthly income net, okay, dia kata salary minus EPF is 2,338. RM 2,300, let's say 2,500 lah, right? So katalah if below 2,500, generally you are not taxable. So kalau monthly income 2,500 is not taxable. So if you're talking about husband and wife, go for joint assessment lah. Because based on that, right, wife most likely ada zero tax liability. Why? Because income is low. You can take 2,500 per month as a low income. Which will, kalau you maknanya bila you assess 2,500 per month, right, kalau you buat tax liability very minimal. Right, that's why you want to go for joint assessment.
Okay.
Alright. So what are the documents that you need, alright, in order for you to submit, to prepare for the submission and to submit your returns, yeah? Number one is the EA form, right? So what is an EA form? We'll look into that later. The second one is the receipts, alright? That's why, alright, receipts ni bukan bila you want to submit your tax return, but then only want to collect mana receipt, kat mana receipt. No, don't do that, don't do that, right? From the very beginning, alright, you kena mindset dah tahu dah. These are the expenses that you can claim for income tax purpose. Then whenever you incur the expense, keep the receipt and then put into one place, right? Don't put here and there lah, alright? So keep in one place so that when you want to do your submission, then okay, you have all these receipts together, then only you want to arrange, oh, these are the books, these are the medical, these are things there, yeah? It's there, right? Bukan not now only want to look for all the documents, okay? So for those, again, all right, because 2020 passed already, yeah, you don't know where the documents are, but at least, right, hopefully by attending this lecture today, you can do something for your 2021, yeah, so that you can keep all the receipts that you incur in 2021 for your taxcom submission next year. Okay, receipts, what do you mean of receipts? All expenses which is claimable, right? For example, not only you're talking about the receipts that relieve, for example, if you have properties, right? Properties receipt that you incur, maintenance expenses, right? You pay for the lighting, pay for the leakage lah, whatever expenses that paid by the landlord, alright, is allowable expense, but you must have all the receipts for you to claim, yeah? And for example, later you see that, for example, you may have to incur some expenditure. For example, in the case of academic staff, for example, you have professional fees, for example, you can claim, right? So keep all the receipts. Approved donations, all right? So we are very generous. We do a lot of donations, all right? But some of these donations you can actually claim as a deduction. But this donation only is an approved donation. So later we look into what we mean by approved donations, yeah? And then if you have a relief, for example, all those relief that we go through later, so all the relief that you want to claim, not all, most of them requires receipts, right? And then rebate as well, right? For example, you pay for zakat, so you must have receipt for the zakat payment. Okay. So what is under EA form? EA form is the summary of the income issued by the employer. Yeah, normally employer issue somewhere in mid of January, the earliest, right? Normally in February, right? In the case of UAE, normally February lah, right? Kalau awal pun maybe 3rd week of January, yeah. So what is under EA form, right? It's actually your annual remuneration, alright, and then that alright, I show you lah, right? Alright, so you have the remuneration, you have MTD, employee EPM, and zakat. So how does it look like? So this is a sample of an EA form, yeah. EA form in this case is for the year December 2020, alright. In the EA form you have SG. So bila you nampak employee income tax number SG, maknanya income is a single income lah. Single income, yeah, single income group SG, right? So you have your income tax number here, and then you have your employer's number here. So this is just a sample, and all this information is actually must be a complete information here, yeah, all the EPF number, social number, everything lah, yeah. Okay. All right, and here you see that the first part we have the Part B, employment income, benefit and living accommodation, yeah. So it depends, yeah, because EA form ni, it depends juga. Because if you look at other company, they may have a slightly different presentation of the EA form, right? So here we have section A, section B, section C, all right? We have in section B, you have your gross salary, all right? And then commission and bonus, income tax borne by employer, a lot lah, yeah? So, but normally kita in this case, for example, in this example, income only is made up of your gross salary, wages or leave pay, right? And then they don't have any other income, but in terms of the, so this here is the total income 103,902.24, all right? Because why here is the income which exclude tax exempt allowances, yeah? So all this income 103 is only taxable income from the employment, yeah? And then the EA form will also shows you your deductions, all right? In this case, we what we call monthly tax deduction. So every month, if you look into your pay slip, there's a tax deduction, yeah? So how do actually the employer, all right, decided, okay, how much is to be deducted monthly from your salary, all right? So the amount deducted from your salary is not simply a figure that decided by the employer, yeah? No. That is what we call a schedular tax deduction. Ada schedule, right? That the employer have to refer to, looking at your gross income, looking at whether you're married or single, and then looking at how many children that you have, right? So the schedule will tell the employer how much is the amount to be deducted from your salary. That's why you have to update your employer whenever you have new children, right, whenever you are married to another wife, for example. So all this must be informed to the employer so that the amount to be deducted from your salary for tax purpose is the correct amount, right? Again, the deduction given is only an estimate, all right, it's based on the income. This is the estimate of the tax liability. So that's why they deduct tax from the salary, all right? So why do we have this tax deduction? Because rather than we call it as a pay as you earn, right? Means that you pay tax as you earn your income. So that's why every month you earn your income, you have to pay tax. So the law says that, okay, we deduct tax on a monthly basis, right? And then we have zakat also, but zakat here only zakat which is deducted from your salary. Right, so if you have zakat deduction from the salary, it will be shown in the EA form. But if you pay zakat, for example, you pay directly to any of the Mawid, for example, Lembaga Zakat Selangor, or you pay to any of the agency, right? So that receipt, right, the amount will not be shown here because this is only from your salary. Yeah, so you have to keep receipts that you pay zakat from other than this place. Okay, and then what you have more here is that contribution paid by employee to approved provident fund. So we have EPF, all right, or you have your any so all right, these also deducted by the employer, right? Contribution by employee. Remember that EPF, there are two types of contribution or two types of the fund actually received from the employer's contribution and the employee's contribution. The one given as a deduction for income tax purpose only on the employee's portion. Yeah. So this amount, right, will be given as a deduction later. And now we also have SOCSO, right? But the SOCSO later you see that there's a maximum amount of 250, right? But in this case, the sample have only 237. So later we see how that will be reflected. And then you also have a total of tax exempt allowance that is given of 22,760, right? So namanya tax exempt, maknanya is income which is exempted from tax. So you don't have to bring this amount into your computation later, right? And in this example also the EA form is 2-page, right? So this 2-page means that you have your the taxable income on the first part, 103, and the second part, the 22,000 is the tax exempt dividend. So when you prepare your tax form, you only want to take which amount? You want to bring 126,000 or you want to bring 103,000 only?
103.
Okay, you only want to pay tax on 103,000, yeah, not 126,000. Okay. All right. So this is
Khadija,
yes.
Assalamualaikum. I'm not sure, but I think I've noticed in the new form, in this tax form, did they ask us to key in the amount that is not taxable?
Is it?
I'm not. That's why
You're referring to income tax form or what?
Yeah.
I rasa pelik sebab I tak pakai spare. Okay.
Yes, I'm referring to the online one.
The online. Oh, I see. Where okay, maybe we can see later. Sample of eFILING. If you can advise me income.
I cannot. That's why I'm not need to.
Hold on, yeah. Okay. Since you asked the question, we have this example of eFILING, yeah. eFILING, that's how it looks like. For those who have never, you have not opened it yet, all right. So you have income from employment, number of employment, income from rental, income from interest, discount, everything. No, I don't see it. You don't have to. No, it's not here in the online.
Okay,
eFILING.
maybe I
Yeah?
mistakenly. Yeah.
So maybe so in that case, so you only take this amount which is taxable income, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So that is your EA form, right? And then, alright, a format ni tak apalah, don't worry, alright. But you must understand that, alright. In order for you to compute your tax form, you must understand, alright. It's actually your income and then you ada deductions. So remember that the objective pasal tax planning ni, objective is always kalau boleh you don't want to pay any tax, alright? You want to zeroize. Kalau tak boleh zeroize, you want to minimize your tax. Kalau tak boleh minimize, you want to defer your tax. Rather than pay tax now, pay later. Alright, so that is what is the objective of tax planning lah, right? You don't want to pay kalau boleh. Nobody wants to pay tax, right? Even though right, tax is an obligation, right? It's your contribution. But the law say that okay, if you can claim deductions, why don't? Right? If you boleh, kita buat benda yang legal. It's legal, alright, for you to claim this relief and rebates. So if you can claim lah, maximize the claims so that you can have lower tax liability, right? So later we'll see that you have total income minus your relief, have chargeable income, then you have your tax liability, tolak pula rebate, and then balance, tolak pula monthly tax deduction, then you have your additional tax payable, or you have a tax refund. So all these, alright, I hope that, right, we'll go through that later, right, after the second session, then hopefully helps you to understand better, okay? So I have also put this into like this, right? So daripada EA form you just now, alright, you have your taxable income, right? So from that taxable income, you're going to compute how much is expenses which are deductible, alright, from employment income. Alright, so I give you an example. If you are, for example, you are an accountant, if you are an architect, you are an engineer, we call it as a professional, and kita ada professional fees that you have to pay, right, in order to maintain your membership. So every year you have to pay for your membership, professional membership. So that expenditure is actually deductible against your employment income. Right, so if you have to pay that, then that expenses is deductible. Yeah, not much actually in the academic. All right, for example, unless if you are not an academic, you may want to ask whether if you have any traveling expenses, if you have any entertainment expenses, can you claim that or not? Yeah.
Assalamualaikum.
Yes. Yes.
Dalam chat box tu, consultant fee dengan part time teaching, is it taxable income?
Alright. To me, it's a taxable.
Lepas tu kalau pasal membership fee tadi kan, kalau kita apply for membership dengan association, so it's not a professional, kita bukan professional
in that,
but is it deductible kan?
No. Okay, dia macam ni. The one that you boleh claim as a deduction mesti related to the employment.
Maksudnya kalau kita masuk macam macam IMM, Malaysian Marketing Association for example.
Kalau in your case you are lecturer, marketing lecturer kan? So to be that member is related to your employment lah. So in that case, they actually
So tax deductible
Yes.
Tapi kalau kita dah claim pula dengan UIA,
Itu another issue lah pula. Sama ada you nak claim ke tak lah.
oh kalau kita dah
My
claim
case,
tu tak
I
boleh deduct lagi. Yalah
Sepatutnya
kan sebab kita dah dapat balik duit kan.
yeah.
Alright.
Can we claim the balance, Dr. Wan?
Yes, of course. Of course, you can claim. Sebab UIA bayar, in this case, for example, at the kuliah, they only pay maximum 1,000. Katalah CPA, you have to pay 2,000. So the difference you can claim lah. Okay?
Doctor, I have a question. I'm sorry.
Yes.
My name is Fas. Assalamualaikum.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm an engineer. So I registered myself compulsory to become an engineer with Board of Engineers Malaysia. So basically, there's a professional registration.
Yeah.
But I also at the same time I registered as a board members of IEM. So basically, for professional engagement, the one that I need to register is with BEM because it's a by law. By law, I need to go with board.
Okay.
But I registered with IEM to get some kind of information or maybe to
Boleh. You boleh claim both.
So
Because
both also can claim.
Yeah, as long as the membership tu related, the membership tu related to your punya employment.
Although
Right.
it is not
Contoh
compulsory.
Yeah. For example, in my case, engineer maybe compulsory, macam accountant tak adalah compulsory kena buat benda tu kan. Sekejap, I punya laptop tak charging. But katalah, tapi if you are for example accountant and then pergi pula masuk kelab memasak, tak boleh lah. Right? Boleh lah masuk kelab masak tapi the fee untuk kelab masak tu you cannot claim lah. Right? Because it's not related to the employment. As simple as that. Yeah. So I can have, for example, in my case, I can have 3 memberships. Satu is the Malaysian accountant, satu dengan CPA Australia. I can also be a tax institute accountant. So I can have many, right? As long as related to my profession, that I can claim that as a deduction. Right? So there are a lot more actually expenses yang related, tapi macam dalam akademik ni I nampak professionship je lah. Right? Other than that, kalau you talk about other lain tu banyak lagi lah yang boleh claim. Ya. Okay. Apa lagi Okay, next is expenses. So these expenses is the one related to your employment, yeah. And then katalah you ada other income, for example, income from your properties. Alright, rental income tu you kena masuk lah. Royalty income. Tadi ada soalan part time. Alright, you mengajar part time, you mengajar apa lagi cakap consultation. So all that is actually kenapa you dapat that job sebab you punya employment kan. Alright, so employment that's why employment not necessarily come from satu employer. Right, it can come from even the part time. Bila you buat part time tu, you should put that together, alright, as your income under employment. Yeah. Alright, aggregate income, and then kita kena tengok approve donation. Bila the green buttons are the one that you boleh claim, yeah. Right, the blue button is just the income tax punya term lah, yeah. So dia nama aggregate income, total income, but you don't have to worry about that, yeah. So and then kita ada relief that you want to claim further, right? The brother relief, then you get a chargeable income, and then ada pula rebate pula, right? Boleh claim rebate lagi, baru dapat, yeah, the final tax liability. And whatever tax liability kat ujung tu, then you compare dengan you punya tax deduction yang tolak every month. Right? So you compare your tax liability and your schedule MTD, monthly tax deduction total tu. So then you compare lah, kalau tax liability ni smaller, then you akan dapat refund lah. Yeah, because what has been deducted from your salary every month is more than what is your actual tax liability. Because the MTD tu just an estimate. But if your tax liability is bigger, then you have to bayar lah. You have to pay the additional tax. Yeah, to online revenue board. Right? That's why you have your additional tax and your tax refund. Alright, this is just a summary of tax relief. Right? That you have self-dependent, all these things. But we'll go that individually after this when we do the illustration. Okay? And then these are the tax rebate. Alright, we have personal rebate, zakat and departure levy. So later we look into that bila kita go through the okay. Bila cakap rebate ni, apa beza rebate dengan relief? You nampak kat sini, relief ni is against your total income. Alright, then you compute a chargeable income For the chargeable income, you can compute tax liability dulu, right? From whatever tax liability, you akan tolak rebate. Ya, tolak rebate. So mana bila the effect of rebate tu sangat besar lah on your tax liability sebab dia memang tolak against your tax liability, right? So effect dia besar lah, right? So kalau ada rebate bayar zakat banyak-banyak tu, most likely you don't have to pay additional tax lah, ya. Okay. Rebate and then dia ada yang baru, alright, rebate ni maknanya later we see that apa maksud personal rebate ni. Katalah later your chargeable income, alright, is less than 35,000. So that's why tadi kita cakap berapa, kalau income is 2,500 per month, katalah gaji 12 bulan, total annual is 30,000 ringgit. Ya, 30,000 ringgit. So that is your total income. Let's assume that you only have, you tolak really 9,000, right? You akan ada chargeable income of 21,000. Bila 21,000, then you tarik dengan tax liability, dan you akan nampak lah dia punya amount tu you memang akan dapat, most likely you akan dapat zero tax liability. Yeah, so later we look into that example. Okay, so these are the tax rates. So tax rates ni dia dekat Malaysia for an individual resident. Kita ni resident, bila kita resident ni maksud apa? As an individual, kalau you are in Malaysia for at least 182 days physically in Malaysia, alright? So in 2020, I think that most Malaysian, right, are resident. Sebab apa? MCO. Tak boleh nak pergi mana. You cannot go out, right? So most likely that Malaysian tak boleh are residents for 2020 because why? They cannot leave Malaysia because of the MCO, right? So bila you resident, right, the income tax rates you is as what we call this as a progressive rate. Nampak? The lower the income, so ini your chargeable income, right, on your left, you ada income from 0 to 5,000, 5,000 to 20,000. So that's why you kena tahu apa maksud chargeable income tu, right? So chargeable income tadi yang kita kira, hold on ya, yang nak dapat chargeable income dekat bawah. So bukan tengok total income ya, bukan tengok employment income, you kena kira chargeable income. Right, so that's why you kena faham betul what do you mean by chargeable income. Yeah, so once you have that, then alright, you see that chargeable income, the higher chargeable income, the tax rate pun tinggi, right? But this tax rate, alright, for YA 2020, there's a lot of reduction actually compared to 2019, right? I remember that in the 2019, this category 50 to 70,000 chargeable income, the rate is 19,000, right? And then 21,000, macam itulah. So now the rate is lower, which is better lah. The lower is your tax rate, the lower is your tax liability, right? So macam mana nak kira tax rate ni nanti kita akan tengok lah, ya. It's interesting actually nak belajar macam mana nak kira tax rate ni. For example lah ya, kita katalah chargeable income is 60,000, right? Anyone? 60,000. Anyone want to try berapa agaknya your tax liability if your chargeable income is 60,000? 60,000. Anyone? I give you 5 minutes. Lamanya 5 minit, 2 minit je.
8,000 plus.
Hold on. 60. Okay, anyone? How much is your tax liability when your chargeable income is 60,000?
3,200.
8,400, Aida 8,004. Oh, ramai 8,004 Kenapa you jawab 8,004 ya?
3,200.
Dah I nak tengok siapa yang jawab 8,004 ni. Mana you dapat 8,004? Aida, would you mind to share with me? Oh, you okay, 60,000.
Tak ada. I hentam je. I letak ialah 14% of 60,000.
Ah, interesting. That's good, that's good. Alright, so those yang jawab 8,004 is wrong.
Allahu Akbar.
So dia nak kira macam ni. Alright, you punya income is 60,000. So you akan ambil, you tunjuk dekat tu So you sebab dia punya fall into this 50 to 70,000, right? Mana I punya, I nak tunjuk dengan laser mana? Tak nampak. Okay. Laser point. Boleh ke? Okay. You punya fall into this category, right? 60,000 kat sini. So how to compute is they said on the first 50,000. So 60,000, so first 50,000, you terus ambil 1,800. Do you get that? Okay. So balance dia berapa? Kalau income 60,000, the first 50,000 in 1,008, ada balance tak? 10,000. So the balance tu baru you darat dengan 14,000.
Oh, okay. Thanks.
So how much you
Clear.
get? So you should get 3,200. Do you get that 3,200? Yes. Nasrul 1,008 plus 1,004. So that's why kita punya tax kan kita panggil progressive tax rate, scheduler tax rate. Schedule. Dia ada schedule dia. How to compute your tax liability. So at least today Aida, I'm happy that now today at least you dah belajar satu benda how to compute your tax liability.
Thanks you.
So the objective is here now bila kita buat tax com, we always want to fall into the lower, kita panggil lower tax bracket. Right? Now 50,000, I want, if possible, I want to put my income under chargeable income that fall into this. So that rather than having my tax rate at 14%, I tax rate at dekat 8%. So that's what I encountered, right, for this year, right. I manage daripada I punya income dekat 21%, right. I arrangekan dia supaya jatuh dalam 14%. Right. You want to know how?
How?
Pay lah.
Please.
Pay me. I'll share you later, right? Of course, I'll share with you later. Okay, so that is on the tax rates. Alright, so that's how. So, but you see that tax rate ni penuh ke tak cukup ni? 1 million mana? Tak cukup. Macam tak cukup gambar ni. Okay.
Ada kat bawah 1 million. Bawah sekali.
Ada bawah.
Oh, kenapa I tak nampak Okay, tak nampak. So you see that, alright, the higher the income, the higher is tax rate. Sekarang ni dia buat macam ni je. Kalau kaya sangat, flat rate terus, 28%. Betul tak? What was the last column? Last row dia, more than 1,000 is 28% kan? Dia tak ada on the first, tak ada kan? So if you're so kaya, alright, government kata okay, flat rate, you pay 28% terus. But I think that 28% for 1 million, apalah sangat kan, nak bayar pada government. Okay. Okay, so we have actually do this. I think sekarang pukul 11. I've been talking for 1 hour. Kesian kat you all. I give you a 5 minutes break. Alright, and then we're going into illustration. Is that okay?
Alright.
Let's take a 5 minutes break.
Okay.
All right. Will you use for this 5 minutes for some questions?
We take a break first.
Okay.
All right.
Kak Wan. You're still sharing the screen, Kak Wan.